newspapers, and I selected this because on the back page there's some information that I think everybody needs to know. But before we ever get to that, I want to talk about what happened over the past course, maybe the last 6-7 months. We recently announced the results of our audit, and we netted approximately $7.5 million in surplus, and that is minus $3 million that we started the foundation that's scholarshiping all of our kids with. So really, it's a $10.5 million surplus. I had board members and people who said, look, we want to put some of this money to use, and we want to show a little love to the rec center. We want to finally turf our middle school football field. We want a concession stand to complement the work that's happening in our football field. When everything was said and done, they were ready to spend $10 million, right? Which is approximately what it is that we brought in large part because of the virtual school that we were able to implement. Now, I talked to them and I said, look, let's go ahead and make our plans. I said, but I want to try something that no one has ever, as far as I know, done, and but I believe is possible. So there's this thing called a reimbursement resolution, and the school board, if they approve it, can spend money, and if you pass a bond within 18 months, essentially 3 elections, you can reimburse yourself the money that you spent out of fund balance. Well, then there's this other thing called a maintenance note. And a maintenance note is essentially the school borrowing money. By the way, the reason I brought Miss Maria is because she's our business manager, and that way she can fact check me. Okay? The maintenance note is something that you can use to renovate, rehab, upgrade slightly facilities that are already existing. And that pot of money is spent out of fund balance. Okay? And so I said, look, let's look at this, because I believe that if we take a maintenance note, we can come back and for the rest of the life of said note, try to go for a bond, and if it were to succeed, you can reimburse the money because it's coming out of a different pot. Maintenance and operations is what we operate with, and then interest and sinking is what we pay back the district's debt with. In this case, a maintenance note is coming out of the operations. So we knew we were willing to spend $10 million. We borrowed the $10 million, and our first payment is due in August, and the payments are for the next 30 years. They fluctuate between $350,000 and $400,000. Now here's a neat thing, and what our attorneys and our FAs finally admitted that we were correct. For the lifetime of the maintenance note, we can run to reimburse what's left. Our first payment is in August, and in August, I think it's $370,000 or so. There's a bond that's being run right now, and if the bond were to succeed, the district will never have to make a payment out of the maintenance and operations, which sets the district up for what I would hope ends up in an apartment complex or something like that, because you have that money that you made all over again. Hopefully we can add another couple of million to the foundation this year, because we want that to be a forever endowment to scholarship all of our students who graduate and who are eligible to get those $5,000. What do they have to do? They have to come to school their senior year 90% of the time. They can't have been suspended or put in DAEP. They have to graduate. And then the last thing is they have to have a college or career military readiness indicator. So you took a college class in math, you took 9 college credits, you earned some sort of certification like our cosmetology program and all of those. That checks the block. Or you join the military and provide us with a DD Form 4 that we upload into the system. So they do all of that, they have those $5,000 waiting for them. And we haven't even put a dent in the interest of those $3 million gathered for this first year. So we hope that more students are eligible this coming year. Unfortunately, last year we only had about 34 that were eligible, and the sad part is it was because of attendance. That's what knocks practically all of our students from qualifying. And the crazier part is that because it was the first year that we established this foundation, we started in January for them. So it wasn't even the whole year. We talked to the seniors like, all you have to do is 90% attendance. And we had a lot of students that did not qualify for something that is basic. Anyways, the neat part about it, let's just take the payment of $400,000, right? That's the highest over the 30 years. multiply that by 10, you're at 4 million. Right? If in 10 years from now, you'll have a good superintendent and they can succeed at passing a bond, 6 million is saved and netted for the district, because a maintenance note essentially is a lifetime resolution to reimburse yourself the money. I hear a lot of different things in the community. One of the things that sometimes makes me sad is I'm not from here. You don't know that. But I love this town and I love our kids and our staff like you wouldn't believe. And it hurts me that sometimes some of our own people, maybe not so much. I know that there are people in this town who claim that the reason taxes are so high and up is because the district passed a bond in 2022. Y'all know I can't tell you a superintendent, not ever, not on my off time, to vote for or against a bond. But I can provide you with information. And I thought that it was time to clear the record. And on the back of this newspaper, that's why I brought them, there's an advertisement that says, setting the record straight on taxes. We've lowered taxes for 9 years in a row. Okay, and it shows you the year where we didn't. I think it goes all the way back to 2016. 9 years in a row. That means that in May, when we passed a $3 million in 2022, and then we passed 100 in November, we've dropped taxes twice. Twice. People said that it couldn't be done, and yet we've done it. And when they say, why are taxes up? I'm just gonna put it out there. The elephant in the room is that November 24th, 2022, Pioneer, go to the archives, there were promises that were made when we were looking to make the hospital district its own entity. And if you go back to that particular archive issue of the Pioneer, it says that they estimated that they needed 22 cents and that the county in exchange was going to drop 9.5 cents. So they were asking for a combined or a total 12.5 cent increase in taxes. They did not lie about, look, we need more money. I supported that. I think we supported that because that election was a landslide. And I know people are scared, well, what are we gonna do, without the hospital and all that? They came out with almost 42 cents, I think, the first year. And then they're at 40, it says right here, 43.45, I think, is what they're at. So they nearly doubled what they ran and said they were gonna have. And the county that year, and yes, I had it out with them, only dropped 4.5 cents instead of the 9.5 that was suggested was gonna happen. And yes, I told them, you'll broke y'all's word. And there are nearly 57 cents of new taxes that offset the district's nearly 60 cents that we've dropped from the early 2000s. Most of those entities don't have a homestead exemption. We're at the lowest tax rate in the last 30 years, and it may be ever. I just only went back 30 years. So it's important that we realize where these taxes are coming from and why it is that we're paying more. On top of that, we still offer our local homestead option exemption, which is 20%, the highest that we can possibly have. What that means is the value of your homestead, if it's $200,000, 20% of that is $40,000. So you minus that from the 200K, and then we now have a $100,000 state homestead exemption. So you're gonna take that 100,000 and now you're left with 60,000. That is the only amount that you're paying taxes on. You divide it by 100 and then times the actual tax rate, and it'll give you exactly what it is that you're going to pay. That $100,000 is increased from $40,000. So while we've dropped the taxes, we also maintain this high homestead exemption. In November, they're going to have another election to up that from 100 to 140K. So you can see that if you're in the low 100s, if you're a 120 or a 130 house, you don't pay school taxes. So the effective tax rate is much different. And I know you could say, well, okay, a 43.45 is a lot lower than the school where we're at, but not when you factor in those homestead exemptions. And I just thought that we needed to clear the record. I ain't trying to throw anybody under the bus. These are facts. You can go and look this up. You can call Mr. Sam Calderon. You can ask Miss Maria. And why did we do this? Because we want to set the district up for success. And whether it's me or someone else, if they succeed, it will financially benefit the district, which financially benefits our community. I fought a whole lot with some of our politicians, and a big part of that is because they want to do what Rankin has done. They want to do what Pecos has done. Rankin purchased the municipal golf course, I think, with the intent of making it kind of a world-class thing, and then after the 5-year time limit is complete, selling it back to the municipality for $1. But here's the difference. They rebuilt their entire schools and got their teacher housing done before they ever started looking at a project that wasn't school related. They're taking advantage of the system because their property values are so high. And you've got to get it while they're getting this good. Pecos finally got to a point where they understand. The majority of the people understand because they've successfully passed, $600 million in bonds over the last few years. And they have a head start of a couple of years on us. I wish I could say what you should do when it comes to the bond and when it comes to supporting the school district, but I can't. You have all the information, and I think that you can make an informed decision. This Saturday, everything is only going down at the annex. You're not going to have the different precincts. If you choose to participate and exercise your vote, I commend you. That's what I got, and if there are any questions or issues, I'd love to try to answer. Ms. Maria, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
And thank you for that lovely letter. I just read it while we were sitting down over there. She wrote a letter to the editor.